Welcome back, Keto Clan. So I'm sitting at dinner with my girl, and she looks over at me and she's like, "How did you even get started on keto?" That made me think. There's probably a lot of you out there that need to know the same thing. So we're going to go over that right now. All right, so if you guys are like me, you probably did a bunch of research and you've been trying to figure this thing out. And even if you're not like me and you haven't done the research, really, where do you start? There's so much information out there. You're getting bombarded with it everywhere. There's fasting keto, there's not fasting keto, there's dirty keto, there's clean keto. What's the deal with it all? Now, I'm not going to go way into the myths and the facts because I am planning on doing another video on just that, but I am going to touch on this for a little bit. First off, you don't have to fast to start keto, and I know a lot of people get intimidated by that. Okay, fasting in keto actually happens on its own. When you get into a healthy ketogenic state, the food that you're eating lasts longer and you just don't get as hungry, and you might find that you're only eating 1 or 2 meals a day. But at first, you absolutely do not have to do that. And then there's this concept of dirty keto to clean keto. Now, dirty keto, a lot of the times what you're hearing are the traditional American dieters that think that you have to have carbs and that all the red meat and all the fat is going to clog your arteries and make you have a heart attack. Well, that's just simply not the case. My own personal experience, I was about to have a heart attack. My triglycerides were over 300, and within 4 months, I got my triglycerides down to 100 by eating red meat and fat. Wow, right? So I don't want you to worry about dirty keto, clean keto. I don't want you to worry about fasting, not fasting. What I want you to do is start. Just start. Because you'll never gain the benefits if you don't just start. Okay, now that we've gone over that, I guess the question is, well, where do I start? So the first place, you have to figure out what you're supposed to eat. Well, I guess ultimately that's the only thing you need to figure out is what am I supposed to eat to get my body into ketosis? Well, you figure that out by knowing your macros, okay? Now, macros is short for macronutrients. You may have heard the term micronutrients referring to the vitamins and minerals in the food that you eat. Well, a macronutrient is your carbohydrates, your protein, your fat, the primary source of those nutrients. Now, I'm not going to get too far into macros, but I tell you what, if you want a video of me explaining in more detail the macronutrients and the micronutrients, why don't you go ahead and go down, leave me a comment, and you know what, while you're down there, go ahead and hit like and subscribe so you know when I upload that video. So your own personal macros is going to be the combination of carbohydrates, protein, and fat that you're supposed to eat on a daily basis to get your personal body into ketosis, to get you to the point to where you are burning fat for energy and not sugar or carbs for energy. So there's a good starting point for everybody, a good baseline of where to start, and then adjust everything up and down for your own personal body to get the best results for you. And that baseline is starting with eating under 50 total carbs a day. Not net carbs, that's a whole nother thing that we'll talk about later, but 50 total carbs in a day. Stay under that. And then your protein needs to be at a level of 1 to 1.5 times your muscle mass, okay? So if you have 100 pounds of muscle mass, you should be eating 100 to 150 grams of protein a day. Okay, so how do we calculate our muscle mass? Well, There are some formulas, real complicated formulas. The military actually uses a few of these formulas to calculate what your body fat is, and then you have to take that away from there. And it's complicated and it's horrible, and I'm not going to go over all that with you and bore you because it's not accurate anyway. Okay? The best way to figure out what your muscle mass is with a scale that measures muscle mass. Now, if you guys have seen my Keto Chow review, I actually have a screenshot that I pop up on the screen that is from my scale. We'll give you a link to it. It's about $30. I personally believe it's well worth it. Now, if you don't want to purchase a scale like that or don't have the funds to purchase a scale like that, there are macro calculators online that I will link to down in the description to give you a good baseline. Now, once you know how much protein you're supposed to eat, you know you're supposed to be under this many carbs, the next part is fat. Well, how much fat am I supposed to eat? This is the fun part. You eat fat until you're not hungry anymore. That's it. Once you have your carbs, once you have your protein, you eat fat until you're not hungry. Every meal, every time you sit down to eat, okay? And one of the greatest things about that, too, is you never have to count a calorie if you don't stuff yourself. I mean, don't just, stuff yourself, oh, I can't eat anymore. No, don't do that, okay? But eat until you're not hungry. And having that much fat in your system, you're not going to get hungry as fast. You're not going to get the cravings. You're not going to want to snack, okay? So you really never have to worry about counting a calorie. In the year and a half that I've been on keto, I have not counted a single calorie, and I have had great results. So now you're probably thinking, okay, so you're saying this is a baseline. How do I know where to move things? How do I know if 50 grams of carbs is good for me or if I need to go lower? How do I know if this much protein is good or I need to go lower? I've been doing it from 1.5 times. Do I need to go to 1 time? And this is where monitoring how many ketones you're producing becomes very, very important. And there's 3 ways that you can do this, okay? The first one is you pee on a stick. Yeah, just like a pregnancy test or your drug tests when you go to the doctor. You're peeing on a stick or peeing in a cup and then dipping the stick in the cup, and the tip of that stick is going to change colors. And then you compare that color to a chart, and it'll tell you if you have no ketone count, a low ketone count, a medium ketone count, or a high ketone count. And it's great. There's no pain, there's no fuss. You just do that, and it gives you an idea. It's not very accurate. It's just a change in color, and sometimes the color can be a little bit this one, a little bit that one. And it's not a long-term solution, okay? What those pee sticks are measuring is the acetate in your urine. When you first get into ketosis, your liver processes out the extra ketones into acetate and they get eliminated. What happens when you get in a full healthy ketosis state is your liver doesn't have extra ketones to process out anymore because your body's using them all. So you might go 3-4 weeks and those little sticks are saying that you are doing great, you are high ketones, and then all of a sudden drop down to 0. And oh my goodness, this happened to me because I was using those sticks at first and I thought I did something wrong. I thought I ate something wrong. I was freaking out. I thought I completely ruined everything. But the thing is it actually meant that I was doing everything right. But I didn't have any way to measure how to do things better or measure if I could now eat a little bit more carbs or eat a little bit more protein and still stay in the range that I want to be in, okay? But still, the urine strips are definitely a good place to start. You could find them in any store, any pharmacy. I'm also going to link to a few of them down here in the description. They range anywhere from $6 to $30. So you take your pick. They're all pretty much the same. Now, the next way, and arguably the most accurate way, is to actually check your blood ketone level. And as you can imagine, just like checking your blood glucose level, you gotta prick your finger. You prick your finger, you put the thing, I mean, it's just like testing glucose if you've ever had to do that, or if you've seen somebody do that, and then you get a little reading on the screen, okay? And in order to be in ketosis, that reading on the screen has to be 0.5 to 3. A little bit higher is fine too, but you know you're in a healthy state of ketosis if your ketones per whatever it is 0.5 to 3, okay? Now, these devices range anywhere from $30 to about $70. Now, there's a hidden cost there. You have to keep buying the test strips. So that price just keeps going up and going up and going up. Now, like I said, this is probably the most accurate way, and there's nothing wrong with doing it this way if you're okay continuously buying those strips, okay? Now, the third way, and the way that I prefer, is this little guy right here, okay? It looks like a breathalyzer, and basically it is, but instead of testing for alcohol level, it's testing for ketone level. Okay. Now, this particular one has a slightly different readout because of the software within it. In the instructions, it tells you the range. So you know when you're in ketosis. This one right here is a 0.02 or higher, means that you're in ketosis. But it's actually pretty easy. You just hit this little button right here. Okay. You wait for that countdown, which is 20 seconds every time. Okay. You don't take a deep breath. You just take in a normal breath, and it says to use the top of your breath. It just kind of dig down deep and breathe into it, and I'll show you real quick. All right, it beeps, and that has me at a 0.1. Now, that's really high. In the instructions for this guy right here, it shows that a 0.02 is good, okay? A 0.03 means you're in ketosis. I was at a 0.1. Earlier today, about a half hour after I had my meal with my girl, I was at a 0.17. And your ketones are going to go up, go down. But what this tells me is that what I ate for dinner was good for me. Now, if I wanted to increase that number, I could start playing around with the carbs, playing around with the protein, playing around with the fat. Now, I had a very high protein meal, and that's probably why that number is starting to go down already. But it's okay. I'm still well within the range, and I am in ketosis, and my body is using fat for energy. If you found this information helpful, make sure you go down there, you hit that subscribe button, you hit that like button. Definitely leave me a comment. Let me know if there's any questions at all that you might have. I welcome questions. I want to answer your questions. I'm doing this because I want to help people. And if you think that these videos are going to help somebody else that you know, just go ahead and share them. And until next time, keto on.